Advent Hope, a long walk home. In this first week of Advent, we are exploring how the birth of Jesus 2,000 years ago continues to provide us with a hope we can hold on to and trust. To give us some insight into this, we're going to fast forward 33 years. Jesus has been crucified by the Romans 3 days earlier. We join two of his followers as they walk home, trying to make sense of what has happened. The walk to Emmaus, as recorded in the Gospel of Luke. Two of Jesus' followers were walking to the village of Emmaus, 7 miles out of Jerusalem. As they walked along, they were talking about everything that had happened. Suddenly, Jesus himself came along and joined them and began walking beside them. But they didn't know who he was, because God kept them from recognizing him. "You seem to be in a deep discussion about something," he said. "What are you so concerned about?" They stopped short, sadness written across their faces. Then one of them, Cleopas, replied, "You must be the only person in Jerusalem who hasn't heard about all the things that have been happening there in these last few days." "What things?" Jesus asked. "The things that happened to Jesus, the man from Nazareth. He was a prophet who did wonderful miracles. He was a mighty teacher, highly regarded by both God and all the people. But our leading priests and other religious leaders arrested him and handed him over to be condemned to death. And they crucified him. We had thought he was the Messiah who had come to rescue Israel." Then Jesus said to them, "You are such foolish people. You find it so hard to believe all that the prophets wrote in the scriptures. Wasn't it clearly predicted by the prophets that the Messiah would have to suffer all these things before entering his time of glory?" And Jesus quoted passages from the writings of Moses and all the prophets, explaining what all the scriptures said about himself. By this time, they were nearing Emmaus and the end of their journey. Jesus would have gone on, but they begged him to stay the night with them since it was getting late. So he went home with them. As they sat down to eat, he took a small loaf of bread, asked God's blessing on it, broke it, then gave it to them. Suddenly, their eyes were opened and they recognized him. And at that moment, he disappeared. They said to each other, "Didn't our hearts feel strangely warm as he talked with us on the road and explained the scriptures to us?" And within the hour, they were on their way back to Jerusalem, where the 11 disciples and the other followers of Jesus were gathered. When they arrived, they were greeted with the report, "The Lord's really risen. He appeared to Peter." This event transformed 2 weary travelers from confusion and gloom to amazement and joy. They found energy to make the return trip because they could not keep their joy to themselves. Their hopes, which had been dashed, were restored and exceeded. As they began to realize that Jesus had defeated death once and for all, it dawned on them that he was their hope and nothing could take him away from them again. The good news is that Jesus is our living hope. Whatever you are going through, Jesus cares enough to find you and to come and walk alongside you. I'll close with a blessing from the book of Romans. May God, the inspiration and fountain of hope, fill you to overflowing with uncontainable joy and perfect peace as you trust in him. And may the power of the Holy Spirit continually surround your life with his superabundance until you radiate with hope.